Yeah, I think that is very important. I know with my friendship group, we're very shameless with the things that we experience and go through. And that's something that's always been normal to me because that's how my mother raised me. Like, she would talk about whatever it was that she was dealing with or going through. And I think what that does for you, it kind of, you don't feel like you're alone or existing in this vacuum, or you're the only person that's dealing with these things. And you kind of realize, okay, this is common. A lot of us are going through. And so, for example, even things like thrush, like, I know for a lot of people, that's such a common thing that like everybody, that anyone can get it. And it's you don't have to be dirty in order to have thrush. It can literally be that you used a perfume product and it didn't agree with your body. But I know for so many people who had it for the first time and were like, oh my God, like, what is wrong with me? What's happened? I've never heard of this before. Like, have I got something, do you know what I mean? Have I got a disease? Have I got something wrong with me? But that is just a natural occurrence of an imbalance in the body. So if people were to just talk about these things, like, oh, I had thrush today, or this happened to me today, then it wouldn't be such a scare for those who've never like been through it before. And it also wouldn't be such a huge like thing that we like, oh, you can't say that, you can't talk about that. So I think, yeah, that's how I am with my friends anyway. We talk about these things and we're just open and honest. And I think also intergenerational conversations are important too. So, you know, as young people, even if we are speaking amongst women, if we're all of the same age, there's only so much that we can do for each other. But if we have women who are older than us, women who are younger, and sort of, because even those who are younger, what I experience and what my little sister's experiencing is not going to be the same because times change. So that intergenerational conversation to me is important in the sense that we can continue to evolve together, but also grow and learn from each other's experiences. So yeah, I think that is a really important thing to try and facilitate wherever you can. There's only one safe space that I can think of at the moment, which is a Facebook group called Bam Babylon, which is focused on Black women, non-binary people as well. So just like talk about, one, this is also like career things, posting opportunities, I'm looking for something, requests, I'm moving to New York, does anybody live in New York, recommendations. But then also a lot of people come to sort of speak about like things that they've gone through, things that have affected them. And you know it's a safe space because they're women who identify with what it is that you're going through, who understand what you're going through, who won't make you feel like your emotions or your experiences aren't valid because they're sort of coming from similar backgrounds. So yeah, I think, and there's a lot of support on that group and it's been created specifically for that purpose. So yeah, I think that's the only one that I can think of. In terms of physical spaces, I personally don't know of any, but I'm sure they exist. But my like physical safe spaces are with my girlfriends. And that's where I go to and have these kind of conversations and find that sort of healing. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we know help. That, for example, whether that's therapy, going to the gym, getting a massage, or like taking yourself out for a meal. There are all these things that like are encouraged as part of self-care that you can do to sort of take a moment to be still or to actually get some physical or mental healing, to talk through like whatever it is that you're going through, but they all like require money. But I guess some of the non-expensive ways that I've found of doing similar things, you don't have to go to the gym to exercise. You can go to the park, you can go for a run. I've got a bike, I cycle. You can exercise in your home, like from YouTube. You can do yoga tutorials that are just there free to watch. Also, meditation for me is something I haven't been able to be consistent with it as yet, but it definitely, that sort of mental training, the ability to be still, because when you are juggling so many things and your mind is constantly racing, and sometimes it's hard to take a moment just to pause and be still and gain that mental clarity, which you can't gain when you're on like the go all of the time. You have no moment to think about anything other than where you're going and what needs to be done next. And so the time to sort of reflect, to pause, to feel, to breathe is sometimes hard to find, or you almost have to schedule it in. So yeah, I think there's an app called Calm, speaking about technology, that I found is really great, and it's like guided meditations. There's different practices, so for anxiety, if you're struggling to sleep, even just like awakening or just breathing, there's so many of these different exercises, and there's a part of it that's free, but then there's also a part that a premium that you can pay for, but even just like 10 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes before you go to bed has been useful for me. Yeah, and then it depends. And then for me, I guess writing, that's quite therapeutic for me. Being able to just express what I'm feeling and write it down and let everything out and pour it out and sort of release it is always very useful. So journaling is another popular way a non-expensive way of practicing self-care. Yeah, those are the main things that come to mind at the moment. But yeah, a lot of these things are expensive, and it is easier to be well when you've got the money to do that. But yeah. I think it would have a great impact. One of the things I wrote in the opening page of the TOR was that it's not just important for women to have these conversations. Everyone needs to be having these conversations because we don't exist in a vacuum. So whether it's like you are the brother, the father, the partner of a woman, you must understand these things in order to be a good whatever you are to them and to be able to support them. And also just for your own knowledge, because if you are a father, for example, and you have a daughter, like that's part of your responsibility to guide her through that journey. So I think it's important for everybody to be having these conversations. If you are, say, for example, in a relationship and you're in a relationship with a man, like it's important that like he's able to have those conversations. I found exploring a lot of these things, especially for women who are in heterosexual relationships, where I did like a survey to explore how many women feel like they can talk about their sort of like intimate things like that they go through with their boyfriends, and it was surprising how many women couldn't and kind of felt like they would rather deal with it by themselves and say nothing because they couldn't say that to like their male partner. And so I think it's important for men to be aware of that, so that you should never feel shamed, especially with somebody who you are, whether you're sexually intimate with them or not. If you share yourself with them, they must be able to have an understanding of what it is that you go through. So I think, yeah, it's an important conversation for everyone to have. So if it is the fact that the male birth control is introduced, I mean, I feel like then the responsibility to think about these things, the onus becomes on a range of people and not just women, because that's all it exists for at the moment. And I think free tampons and pads is a great thing. I think period poverty has been something that a lot of people have been working for and fighting for at the moment. So I think it's great that like finally sort of physical implications of change are starting to happen. But yeah, I think there's a lot of work to be done, even just in the areas of like the women's sexual health is like really under researched, and a lot of scientists have like fundamental things have been skipped. So for example, with Clue, the one of the head scientists there joined and she wanted to focus on menstrual health, and she was like, she had to step backwards and start from the basics from the beginning, because a lot of the fundamental things that were needed to start on that part, like level weren't there and they didn't exist. So I think there's a lot more to be done in terms of like research and having more female scientists taking up these spaces and focusing on the small layers that of things that women go through that otherwise other people wouldn't know. So yeah, I think that's it.